Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford for the latest paper talk. Lots to get through this morning because just because Manchester United aren't playing this week or last week doesn't mean there isn't plenty of Manchester United transfer speculation, as you would expect. There's a story about Ousmane Dembele. It looks like there could be some more developments there, if you can call them that. Also, we'll have the usual stuff about Mr. Erling Haaland and one or two others who we've heard about constantly over the last few weeks. But first of all, we'll look at someone who could be on his way out, and that's Diogo Dalot. Manchester United apparently are open to bids of around 12 million for Dalot. It looks like AC Milan have come in with a bit of that, and United are looking to move him on. He's obviously on loan at Milan. He played against Manchester United, didn't he, in the Europa League, which is just one of the most bizarre things I think I've seen in recent years. And it's saying here in certain reports that Manchester United have opened talks with AC Milan for the permanent transfer even of Diogo Dalot, with the Serie A club informally offering around 12 million for the Portuguese defender. Now he's on a season-long loan there. He's doing relatively well. I think he has a little bit of stick from certain sections of the Milanese press, but on the whole it's been a decent spell, and it looks like that move could be a permanent one. He's obviously going to struggle to get back into the Manchester United team. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't fancy him. We've got other options there. We know Dalot is someone who can play. He can pretty much play either left back or right back, but we've got options there. Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the right, Luke Shaw on the left. You look as well, you've got Brandon Williams who can play in either of those positions. You've got Alex Telles who can play on the left. Ethan Laird, who's been on loan MK Dons and been doing really well there. He can come back into the squad next season and hopefully give Aaron Wan-Bissaka something to think about in the right back spot as well. And we've been linked with other fullbacks as well, the likes of Kieran Trippier and Max Aaron. So it seems highly unlikely that Diogo Dalot is going to come back to Old Trafford and get anywhere near the first team. So it looks like his move to Milan could be made a permanent one. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, as always, when he's asked about Dalot, and he does this with any loanee, he speaks quite highly of them. When we've got a player out on loan, he'll always praise them, he'll always speak quite highly of them, he'll always almost give the impression that the door is open for them. He did it with Alexis Sanchez. Remember Alexis Sanchez went on loan to Inter, and then there was, he was asked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, could he come back? And he's like, he more or less said, yeah, he could. And then people were like, he's going to come back. And he wasn't. It's just, Solskjaer gets the idea that if you've got a player out on loan and you want to move them on permanently, slagging him off isn't going to help anyone. You have to praise him, you have to sort of big him up a little bit. And that's what he's done. When he was asked about him recently, he said the plan was always for Diogo this season, or the main thing for Diogo was to be fit. He never managed to be fit for a long spell when he was here, and unfortunate with injuries. Now, he's kept fit all season. He's been available for them, meaning Milan. He's playing at a big club, big expectations, great history of the club. So it's been a good year for him. So, of course, I've been very pleased with his development this season, and he's our player, and we're looking forward to having him back. So people look at that and they go, that means he's coming back. I don't think he does at all. Like I said earlier, he'll always say things like that about players that are on loan somewhere, and I can understand why he does, because if he said the rubbish, I never want to see him again, then Milan are going to say, well, I'll tell you what, we're not going to give you 12 million, we'll give you a lot less. In terms of transfers coming in, one transfer story that's been doing the rounds, again, this is from reports over in Spain, is that Ousmane Dembele could be heading to Old Trafford. Now, Dembele's been playing well for France. He scored the other night. Pogba and Martial, I'll get on to Anthony Martial in a minute, involved in that goal as well. People looking at it going, could that be the sort of the future of Manchester United? I mean, I don't think it will be. I think even if Dembele comes, it looks like Paul Pogba could be moving on, but that's a different story. And now it seems like these sort of transfer rumours that have been doing the rounds when it comes to Ousmane Dembele for, like I said earlier, about 18 months, have reared their head again. Now, Dembele has been a decent player for Barcelona, and I say decent, he's done okay when he's played. He's just had a lot of injury problems, and again I say okay, but he hasn't set the world alight at the new camp. I think they overpaid for him. I think they paid around 100 million euros with 40 million plus in add-ons, which was quite startling for a player that had done okay at Borussia Dortmund, but it seemed like Barcelona went a little bit OTT, or paid a little bit OTT for him there, paid too much, and his contract does run out, I think, in 2022, so it looks like they could be willing to move him on. Barcelona's just been such a shambles of late with their transfers and what's been going on. Obviously, you saw it last season in the Champions League. I think it was against Bayern Munich in the semis, where they had Dembele and I think Griezmann, I think, were both on the bench. So you've got about 200 odd million pounds worth of talent either on the bench or they got subbed. And then you had Felipe Coutinho, who was their player who they'd paid £140 million for, playing against them for Bayern Munich because he was on loan at Bayern Munich. I mean, it's just been a farce. There's thought that they're in serious financial trouble. I know that Spanish football often, when it comes to the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona, they run up these massive debts and they seem to just get away with it. But they could be in serious financial trouble. We don't know what's going to happen with Lionel Messi. Maybe he'll move to perhaps Manchester City and that'll alleviate some of them. But Dembele does seem like someone who could get moved on. The fact that he's on, I think, £215,000 a week it indicates that he'd be someone they look to get off the books. The fact that his contract only has a year left, and the fact that, as I said earlier, he's done okay at Barcelona, but he hasn't set the world alight, and there are question marks around his fitness because he has had quite a few injury problems, makes you think that he could be leaving the new camp. I'm just not mad keen on him. I'll be honest with you. I think that if you're going to pay, I think the fingers being bandied around for Manchester United to get him would be around the £60 million mark, which is doable. But if you are going to pay for that for him, I mean, you need a player that's going to be fit. He does kind of fit into the role here. He can play on the right-hand side of a front three. He's a sort of modern-day footballer in the sense that he's not an out-and-out striker. He's not an out-and-out winger, although he can play on the wing. He's one of those type of players, your Marcus Rashford, your Anthony Martial type players who sort of, likes to cut in, like I say, on the not the wing, but a wide part of the front three. So you think he could come here and fit in. I just don't know if this is going to happen. I don't know if he's the right player for us because, as I said earlier, injury problems. The fact as well, I am that guy. I am a bit bitter, and I remember the fact that when Barcelona were 3-0 up against Liverpool at the Nou Camp in the first leg of the Champions League, I think it was the semis, or the quarters, I can't remember, but he came on, had the chance to wrap the game up, and didn't. He missed an absolute sitter, and the Scousers ended up turning the game around at Anfield and going on to win the Champions League. So just because of that, I hold it against him, and I don't really want to see him at United, but I'll probably change my tune if we sign him like I always do. Another story about Pau Torres. Apparently he's ready to snub Real Madrid and join Manchester United. We know that Pau Torres has been linked with United for quite some time. I did a video not long ago about 5 defensive targets for Manchester United, and he was one of them. He's been doing really well for Villarreal. Even got a few goals actually for a defender, which is impressive. Seems to fit the mould of someone we want. Very comfortable on the ball, can bring the ball out of defence. 24 years old, so he's a sort of right age, if that makes sense, to come to United. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. He's one that we have been linked. We've been linked with quite a lot of defenders, and he's one of many. So we'll wait and see whether that comes to fruition. Want to keep an eye on, as we always do. Now, in terms of other players, because it's International Week, it sort of adds a lot of fuel to the fire with certain players, whether they're going to come, whether they're not going to come. Is there any sort of indication from what's happening with their international duties that could signal them being a United target or anything like that? One player who's not having the best of time internationally is Erling Haaland. Now, I, for starters, don't think this makes any difference whatsoever into whether he's going to come to United or not. I don't think if he's not scoring for Norway, Manchester United are going to go, well, we don't want him. I just think it's just sort of a little bit of intrigue, shall we say, because he is struggling a little bit. He's not scored. He didn't score against Turkey. He didn't score against the mighty Gibraltar. And now Norway are in serious trouble, I think, of qualifying for the World Cup. They were expected to qualify. They've not qualified for a World Cup since 1998, and it was expected with Erling Haaland leading that attack that they would be able to in a group that seemed winnable for them. But they've been struggling a little bit, so there's sort of, they might not qualify and he'll be disappointed. I don't think that makes a massive difference to anything to do with Manchester United Football Club. We'll have to wait and see whether we go in for him again. We know that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's a fan. We know that he's an absolute talent. The only sticking point is the fact that his buyout clause is next season, next summer. So if you want him this season, you're going to have to go in hard. And the likes of Manchester City have been linked with him among a few other clubs. So United may end up in a bit of a bidding war. Another one to look out for, or we've been looking at internationally, was a lot more connected with Manchester United than Erling Haaland, is Anthony Martial. Now, he did okay for France the other night. Until he got limps off with a suspected knee injury. He was playing against Kazakhstan in a 2-0 win, and we've got to wait and see just the extent of that injury. So it's a bit of a shame for Anthony Martial because he's been doing well for United. I know he's not been into the goals, but he got the man of the match award, didn't he, at the Etihad, and he thought, okay, maybe this is now he can have a good end to the season. So it's frustrating for him that he's had to limp off playing for France, because he's not had much of the rub of the green when it comes to France as well. Obviously missed out going to the World Cup with them because he'd been dropped by United. Struggled to get in the goals for France and in the team, and then he played well the other night and then went off injured. So hopefully he'll get a scan or whatever he needs. We can get that checked out and it won't be too serious, and we can have him back here playing for Manchester United where he belongs. Another player that's been spoken about because he's been playing for internationally for England this time is Jesse Lingard. Now, there was a story doing the rounds, I think it was on Friday, that Jesse Lingard could be offered a new deal at Manchester United because he's been playing so well for West Ham. He's been banging in the goals for West Ham. I think he scored 5 goals in 7 games, been playing really well. And you look at it and you think United have been struggling a little bit going forward, so maybe Jesse Lingard can come in back to the club and do a job for us. I'm not so sure. Jesse Lingard's form had fallen off a cliff for Manchester United, and I love Jesse Lingard. Both cup finals where he scored those goals, been a great servant for Manchester United, but his form had gone to the dogs. He's been rejuvenated at West Ham, and that might be a better move for him, going to somewhere where the pressure's off a little bit, he's enjoying his football again, and he fits into their system quite nicely. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. If Jesse Lingard does come back to Old Trafford, I won't be one of those who's giving him any stick about it. I just hope he can recreate the form he had a couple of years ago, or that he's shown at West Ham, but it just wasn't happening for him at United, so I wouldn't be surprised if that move to West Ham was made permanent, or if he went elsewhere. I just don't know whether it's going to work for him coming back to United. He obviously has been playing for England. He came on yesterday, I think, for Phil Foden. He also started against San Marino, so he's been playing for his country, and that's only going to add a little bit more speculation. Oh, he's back in England fold. That means he's back to his best, getting back at United, but we'll have to wait and see with that one. And just finally, well, in fact, there's 2 finalists. David De Gea hasn't been playing for Spain. He's been on the bench. Atletico Bilbao goalkeeper Unai Simon has been the preferred choice for Spain. I mean, I don't look into that too much. David De Gea's just had a baby. He hasn't been playing for United that much of late either, so he hasn't been playing for Spain. It kind of makes sense. There is talk of him moving on. I think Maka had it in his Gazette yesterday. We'll have to keep posted on that. David De Gea has been touted as one of the few players, or one of the many players you could argue, that could be moved on this summer because of his massive wages and the fact that Dean Henderson may just have got ahead of him in the pecking order. We'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. And just finally, there's a story doing the rounds about Harry Kane. Again, Maka had this yesterday, but I'll just elaborate a little bit. Because Harry Kane was speaking about his contract and how he sort of indicated that he might be open to a move away from Spurs. He was giving those sort of, Ronaldo vibes. When Ronaldo was in, he was saying, who knows where the future lies? Only God knows, that sort of stuff, instead of committing. And he's been doing a similar sort of thing, saying, it's important to stay focused on the England games, and I'm trying to stay out of the speculation. Didn't really give a concrete answer as to the fact that he was happy to stay at Spurs, and a lot of people have jumped on that and said, it looks like he could be moving on. Do I see Manchester United buying Harry Kane? No, I don't, to be honest with you. I think he's rumoured to be around 130, 140 mil, and it's probably worth around that. He bangs in goals for fun. He's 27, so he's still got a few years left in him. We know he can do it in the Premier League, and if you look at some of the other sort of transfer fees that go around, some of the players I mentioned earlier, the likes of Ousmane Dembele and Felipe Coutinho, then it makes sense that someone like Harry Kane would be almost a world record fee. His injury record isn't great, but it's not terrible. The problem you've got with Harry Kane is, if he does miss some games, I think he missed about 9 Premier League games or something last season, then you feel it because he's so important. But I just don't see United paying that for him. Daniel Levy's a very shrewd operator. He's going to get the most out of that deal. Harry Kane, I think, has something like 3 years left on his deal. So it could make sense that Spurs sell him because they'll get the most money for him. Maybe City could go in for him, and if City went in for him, maybe we could go in for Erling Haaland. Who knows? But as always, we'll keep you posted. This has been the Paper Talk at Old Trafford. Don't forget to check out some of the other videos we've got on the channel. As I mentioned earlier, there's me talking about defensive targets. I think you've got Maka talking about midfield targets. You've also got his Gazette. Later on today, we'll have the Paddock podcast. You'll have, I think they're doing the Premier League P-Take. I think they'll be looking at international games as well. That'll be with Joe Smith and Adam McCullough. And if you're not subscribing to the channel, then come on, sort your head out, give us a subscribe. Thanks for watching.